Nothing beats a homemade risotto, and I'm going to show you the tips and tricks to making it extra special and very authentic. This one is a vegetarian-inspired one using some beetroot and blue cheese. Now, first up, you'll need some broth. Now, I'm going to be using a plant-based broth. This one's fantastic. It's got no MSG. It's gluten-free too. So we'll add that to a pot, and you want to warm up about 1 to 1.5 litres of broth. So into the pot. And while the broth is warming up, let's get some onions and garlic into a pan. I want something that has a lot of movement, so you don't want to use a pot to cook your risotto. Ideally, you want a pan or a shallow wok just like this one. We'll add a good glug of extra virgin olive oil, and when I say that, about a tablespoon is plenty for this. We'll add some finely diced onion. And you don't want too much colour on the onions, you just want them to soften, and to just give them a head start and just allow them to sweat, a very small pinch of salt in there. While that's cooking away, 2 cloves of garlic. I'm just going to cut them in half first. They're giant garlic cloves. Bruise them and then finely chop it. And then in with the onions. Now, while that's softening in the pan, keep an eye on it, keep tossing it. We can get on with the beetroot. Now, if you're cooking your beetroot from scratch, make sure you steam them or roast them for about 1 hour until they're tender, and then peel them. I've got 3 medium to small ones here. I'm going to place them into a jug just like this. And with a stick blender, I'm going to puree this until it's really smooth. Have a look at that colour. You can imagine how this is going to be at the end. We're going to have this beautiful white rice, and then I'm going to stain it with this beetroot that's going to be so sweet and earthy. So this is done. We can pop it to the side now. We won't need it for a while. We'll get back to our onions. See how they're nice and soft, but not too much colour. We'll add the rice now. Now, I'm just using a Borio rice, but there are many different varieties of risotto rice. Get the best quality risotto rice you can. We'll give that a shake and just give that a stir. And you just want to toast this off for a moment so the rice absorbs some of that oil and warms up. I want to add some thyme to our broth just to give it a really nice herby flavour to it. So a good amount, 3 or 4 sprigs into the broth as it warms up. We'll also add some to the risotto too. So it's all about depth of flavour here and layers, so that's why I love to add that thyme. Okay, this is good. Now we can start adding some moisture to the risotto. First up, some white wine. And you want to allow that to bubble away and reduce. You want it to reduce so much that you can't see any more liquid in the pan. And you see how the pan tosses quite neatly? This is what we want so we get an even cook on the rice. Now you need to be patient with your risotto, and I actually find it quite therapeutic. Little by little, we're going to add our stock. So I'll start with 1 to 2 ladlefuls, and we'll turn that down to a medium to low heat so the rice has time to absorb the liquid, and this stage is going to take about 15 minutes. So keep an eye on it, stir it occasionally, and once all of the stock has been absorbed, we can go on to the next stage. Okay, this risotto is looking pretty good. It's now time just to have a taste to see if it's al dente. So, it tastes so good, and it is al dente, which means it's just slightly chalky in the centre. So I'll add just the smallest amount of extra broth. I don't like my risotto to be quite stiff. I actually like it to be slightly runny. Now we're going to add our gorgeous, smooth beetroot. So the whole lot goes in. And we're just going to gently fold that through. It's just such a nice thing to see. I'm going to turn the heat off, and we'll add a good amount of butter to this and just let that gently melt in together. Now, I have turned the heat off. I also don't like to add Parmesan cheese when the heat's on because it can start to get slightly waxy. So just add it at the end so it stays really creamy and melts gently in. And I love a lot of Parmesan for this. And again, we're just going to use our spatula just to fold that through until the cheese has dissolved and also that butter. it is ready. So we're gonna place this onto a plate, just like that. See how it just almost forms a wave as you pop that on the plate? That is the perfect consistency. And in true Italian form, you want to grab your plate and just tap on the base of it. And by doing that, we're just spreading it out. I don't like to place it into a bowl because it just sits in a big mound. By doing this, when you do eat this with the blue cheese, you're going to get a beautiful ratio of rice to blue cheese. And this is where you can get really adventurous with this. If you want some more texture, you could add some walnuts because that goes really nicely with blue cheese and the beetroot. It's up to you. Just grab a few of these little wedges and just break it over the top. And as this gets eaten, it'll start to melt with the heat of the rice. A little extra thyme sprinkled over the top and extra parmesan to tie the whole thing together. And just so it glistens, some really good quality Australian extra virgin olive oil over the top. Beetroot, blue cheese and a really nice broth. That's a winner right there, and it's vegetarian. Win-win.